What's going on YouTube, Ferocity? I hope you guys are doing well. The big update to Black Ops Cold War is here. Now, this isn't a game-changing update like I was hoping it would be, but it does address some of the major issues that are in Black Ops Cold War. First off, though, we are getting the new map Miami Strike, which is basically a streamlined version of the map Miami. Now, personally, I like Miami for Search and Destroy, but I will be the first to say that its map design isn't that great for other game modes. So I'm excited to see how this plays. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but I'm looking forward to getting that opportunity soon. As well as this, they added the map Mansion to gunfights, so 2v2 and 3v3, and again, haven't had the chance to play it yet, but I'm excited to see how it plays. Now, the big thing that I've been hammering down for a while now on this channel has been weapon balancing, and they finally addressed it here. So, let's talk about what they've addressed and what they haven't. So, Krig 6, improve visibility while firing in aim down sight, complete tuning, pass on weapon accuracy, weapon movement, visual clarity while firing with any optic attachment, addressed instances of weapon feeling floaty when firing for a prolonged amount of time. Now, personally, I'm a big fan of the Krig 6, so I'm okay with all of these changes. None of these changes really truly make the weapon that much better, it just makes it more easy to use. Now, the FFAR-1 got increased ballistic speed by 12.8%. I don't know necessarily what that means, but I'm supposing it's a good thing. Now, this is going to be a big change, especially for you League Play players and just for players in general. The Graza increased maximum damage range by 40%, and I'm okay with this because the Graza needed a bit of a buff, and I'm okay with that. Attachments, complete tuning, pass on muzzle and underbarrel attachments that affect recoil on assault rifles. So what I'm assuming is they've increased recoil in the game, which makes the game tougher, which I'm more than okay with. Submachine guns, the Milano 82-1 or 821. Increased mid-range damage by 10%, increased mid-range damage range by 33%, increased sprint out speed by 14.2%, increased raise speed by 11%, slightly increased ADS in speed. Now, the question I have here is, I'm wondering if this came into effect a little sooner, because I did feel that more people were gravitating towards the Milano recently, and maybe it came into effect earlier, or maybe this is just totally unrelated, but the Milano getting a much needed buff, and I'm okay with that. I might actually start using the Milano now, so might try it out later today. Now, the KSP-45 also increased its ballistic speed by 32.5%, and reduced burst delay by 20%. Now, personally, I found the KSP to be pretty balanced to begin with, so maybe this makes it just that next tier above. Now, with the AK-74U, a gun that much needed a bit of a nerf, reduced accuracy with prolonged firing, and reduced muzzle velocity by 23.4%. So, what I'm gathering by this is now damage range has decreased, and your accuracy has decreased as well, and I'm totally fine with this change. The AK-74U was beaming people from ranges that were like assault rifle ranges at times, and it is frustrating when you die from it from a really long range. So I'm good with this change. It's a good change. It's going to make Call of Duty more competitive, and you could tell that even the pro players were getting a little tired of it. I think they even GA'd it. Now, the LC-10 reduced max damage range by 41%. Slight reduced mid-range damage as well. Now, personally, the LC-10 was way more powerful than the AK-74U. It was actually pretty broken when it came out. So I'm really welcoming both of these changes just to balance out the LC-10 a little bit more. Now, the MAC-10 modified bullet pattern to add slightly more horizontal trajectories. Not 100% sure what that means, but I think it really needed a better, bigger nerf, personally. But we'll see what happens. Complete tuning pass on muzzle and underbarrel attachments that affect recoil on SMGs. I'm fine with this, adding more recoil from what I'm reading. Now, with light machine guns, reduced maximum damage by 25% on all of them. Oh no, just on Alpha. Just on the one? What? What? I thought it was on all of them. It's literally just on the first one, which is the Stoner. Just reduced maximum damage range. They didn't touch the hip fire. They didn't touch the lack of recoil. They changed the recoil on both the SMGs and the ARs, but didn't touch them on the LMGs. Are you absolutely kidding me, Treyarch? This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. Sniper rifles. Disable glint effect on snipers with iron sights equipped. I mean, this is just a no-brainer. Makes a lot of sense. Pistols 1911 increased ADS speed by 11%. Magnum slightly decreased hipfire accuracy. Dual wield bullet trajectories are now more varied when firing both guns simultaneously. Redesigned the 4.7 takedown barrel attachment into a tight snub barrel. This attachment now adds damage to both enemies and vehicles. So it wasn't just the Magnum that needed a dual wield fix, it was also the 1911 and it was also the Diamatti. The fact that those aren't included here is just a little ridiculous if you ask me. The dual wield is completely broken in the game. But yeah, let's only fix it for one of them. Launchers, RPG-7, slightly increased bullet or blast radius, greatly increased the length of straight rocket flight path. General, rockets now inflict more damage to enemies with flakjack and hardcore, still requires a direct for one-hit kill. Attachments, Infantry V-Choke, updated attachment description to clarify pros and cons. Now, the one thing I've noticed with everything here, there's nothing about the Street Sweeper. The Street Sweeper needs a nerf. Really badly. It's making pubs unplayable, as they love to do with these types of shotguns, but they never, ever, ever try to do anything about it. So, really frustrating with that. Movement, slightly reduced speed of changing stances from stand, crouch, and prone. Additional adjustments come to address remaining disparity between first person and third person's perspective. So this has to do with the whole snaking thing going on right now in the CDL scene. If you're not sure what snaking is, essentially what it means is you are fooling the camera. So what you're doing is actually going to be delayed on the other person's screen. So thus you have the advantage. So whether that's going from prone to sprint or just bobbing up and down from crouch to standing up, this is going to change that. So now the camera can keep up with changing of those stances. The problem that I still have with the game right now is it's incredibly hard to go prone for some reason. The game just like wants to prevent you from going prone at all times for some godforsaken reason. I don't know. It just, anytime I try to go prone, it just doesn't let me sometimes. It's ridiculous. But yeah, so, and people were noticing in CDL when they're watching it from a third person's perspective is that act of snaking is very delayed and it is very frustrating for sure. Combat record, added vehicles section, addressed an issue with the killed by stat not tracking properly. Interesting. We already talked about Miami Strike and Mansion being added. There's also a new map in multi-team, which is called Golova. I don't know why multi-team and big team is getting as much attention as 6v6, why there's more content there, it seems, for multi-team than there is for 6v6. I'll never know. Apocalypse addressed an issue that allowed players to capture P3 hardpoint outside intended boundary. Now again, I've talked about this in the past. If there's an issue that I don't notice when I play and they fix it, I give them a thumbs up. Whenever there's an issue that I don't notice and they're able to fix it, before I notice it, I'm a happy camper. The Pines adjusted Zone B to allow capturing against the pizza counter. Again, I'm okay with that change. Increases the size of it. Raid. Hardpoint adjusted distance from spawns from P1 to each side to reduce chances of spawning beside or behind enemy team. I'm okay with that, but again, I wonder how this changes when you're moving from P1 to P2. If if you spawn, let's say P3 and you're trying to run to get spawns for P2, how does this affect it? Very curious to know how that works. Garrison control extended Zone A up to the platform outside Green Room. I'm okay with this change because now this makes Zone A a little bit easier to get, a little bit harder to defend. So I'm curious to see how this works out, not only just in the pro scene, but also in league play. Conditional attacker spawns added to reduce travel time to Zone A. Also very interesting. Remove spawns that were too close to P2 and P5. Again, I think this is to fix an issue with P5 control. If your team doesn't move up past the outside of the P5 point into where those tanks are, then everyone's just going to spawn back there on the enemy team. The spawns aren't going to flip and all of a sudden a team's going to spawn on P3 if you're far enough back. So this is addressing that issue. Hardpoint added a larger spread of spawns with P1, P2, and P3 to reduce chances of spawning behind an enemy team. Again, I'm very curious to see how this works when you're trying to control spawns, whether it's moving from P1 to P2 or P2 to P3. Very curious to see how that is. Scaled down bullet collision on Miami Patrol Van, not really sure. They added multi-team hardpoint, prop hunt, Miami Strike, and Satellite added to the map rotation, refresh prop rotation for several existing maps, addressed an issue where the best play prop camera could appear underground. Control, new custom games added time per segment and overtime rules. Pardon me. Gunfight added gunfight specific medals. Battle chatter now disabled in gunfight and gunfight variants. VIP escort. I don't even know anyone who plays that. Multi-team. Addressed an issue where teammates could spawn on top of one another after a team-wide respawn. General. Enemy red dots will now be prioritized on top of objective icons on the minimap. Okay. Featured playlists. Again, they just added a bunch more. Challenges. Flashbang stun challenges now easier to complete. Awesome. Fog of War addressed inconsistencies with the smoke grenade cover assist combat stat track. Addressed issues with Fog of War challenge and sight unseen metal not tracking properly with the danger close wildcard equipped. Update challenge description for clarity. General gestures can now be used before the round starts. Social updated messaging when a player is kicked from the party. Turrets addressed issue where players on mounted turrets could be immune to dirt bite vehicles. Audio addressed issue where VO would say no targets destroyed if the attack helicopter was destroyed by the cruise missile. Now league play, we talked about this, maybe. Wildcards. Lawbreaker is now gone. Or at least it's not letting you pick a primary weapon as a secondary. So Lawbreaker in league play will no longer allow any weapon to be put in either slot. Players will now only be able to choose between a primary and secondary weapon. Awesome change. Lawbreaker will now only allow players to equip multiple perks from the same perk category. Awesome change. Perk greed is now restricted completely. Awesome change. This is perfect. Match suspensions. Players who quit out of active matches or are kicked for friendly fire will now be issued a matchmaking suspension for a period of time. Penalties will escalate if the player continues to quit out of matches or is consistently kicked for friendly fire. UI. Extended placement bracket to include top 25 and top 50. Updated gem representation and rank progression screen. Updated ladder event complete screen with new gem celebration animation. Sure. Added location to the top of league play ladder to showcase current placement games. Cool. Again, sure, changes. They're fine. New region Sanatorium Night has been added to Outbreak. New objectives added to Outbreak. New vehicle, the dirt bike's been added. New intel, audio logs have been added. Stability fixes, gameplay fixes, objectives, holdout, defend, retrieve, escort. Enemies will no longer despawn when the payload teleports. Lots of changes. There's just so many changes here to zombies. Oh my goodness. Field upgrades, new challenges, trials. Addressed an issue where trial challenges were duplicating earlier than intended. Pack-a-Punch addressed an issue where players were unable to re-roll attachments on some weapons after upgrading the Pack-a-Punch machine. Closed an exploit that allowed players duplication of the ray gun or ray K84 using Pack-a-Punch machine. Equipment addressed an issue where players with full stack of equipment had the option to pick up that same equipment or drop their stack. Support weapons that use ammo will no longer be refilled when warping to another region. Round-based map, Firebase Zeke. They changed some exploits. Daimashizne, the shockwave could be attained through the door at its location. Stability fixes, Dead Ops Arcade changes, Onslaught changes, and then just your regular featured changes as well. Now, I just went through a bunch of word soup there towards the end, and I apologize for that. Zombies isn't the biggest thing that matters to me. It's going to be the multiplayer fixes always. But if you want to see all the updates, a link is down below to the charlieintel.com article. Please check it out if you are so inclined. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.